This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Rabbi said we're going to have a very interesting subject this morning, which is closely linked to one of the psukim of this week's Parsha, and also will give us an opportunity to look into a most profound concept, and hopefully you will also have something to say over at the Shabbos table. So the pasuk tells us in Parshas Noach, when Noach comes out of the Teva, the Rebbeinu Shalom says, "Bi'ach es dimchem lenafsheisechem edroish." But your blood for your souls, edroish, I will seek out. Miyad kol chaya edroshenu, I will seek it out from any animal. In other words, even an animal who takes the life of a human will be held responsible. Now look carefully. Umiyad ha'adam, miyad ishachiv. From the hand of a person, from the hand of his brother. Edroish es nefesh ha'adam, I will seek out the life of a person. So the first thing we need to notice is the fact that the Torah utilizes the language edroish, drisha, seeking out, which is a very unusual expression. But aside from that, the pasuk mentions two things. It says, who will be responsible for killing? Number one, miyad ha'adam, a person. And number two, miyad ish achiv. Number two, miyad ish achiv, a person. Okay, so that we understand. What are these two expressions? Who's liable for killing? Number one, miyad ha'adam. And number two, miyad ish achiv.
Should only say miyad ish achiv.
It should say either miyad ha'adam or miyad ish achiv. Comes along the Ksav HaKabbalah, and the Ksav HaKabbalah offers us a tremendous explanation. Ksav HaKabbalah, Rabbi Yaakov Tzvi Mecklenburg.
Why is an animal chayiv? Because it kills. That's his nature. The nature of an animal is to kill.
God, it could be, but he'll still be held responsible. Rabbis, we have a very short amount of time. Let's try to go through this. The Ksav HaKabbalah tells us, Kafal Lashain Adam V'ish. The Torah is repetitive. First it says Adam, and then it says Ish. It says Miyad Adam, and it says Miyad Ish. Gam Chiber Elav Milas Achiv. When it comes to the word Ish, the Torah adjoins it with which word? Achiv. It says Miyad Ha-Adam, and then it says Miyad Ish Achiv. Nirali, says the Ksav HaKabbalah, it appears to me, Ki yesh shnei ofane ritzicha. There are two types of murder. Number one, Im liras hanirtzach linkoim nikmas meno. You want to kill someone, you hate them, you hate their guts, you want to take revenge. Or lakachas mamono, or you kill someone, you want to take their money, right? You hope you don't get caught, right? You hope the glove doesn't fit. But people could murder for various reasons, for various improper reasons. But there's another reason you may want to kill someone, and what is that? Im letoivas hanirtzach. Maybe you could kill for the benefit of the one who was killed. Kishehu meshuka b'tzar gadol. Let's say someone, chas v'sham, they're suffering terribly. Right? They're suffering terribly. And you want to spare them the misery. V'yivchar mavas mechaim. They choose death over life. And we have instances of this in Tanakh. Ka'avi Melech, she'amar lenar, shloif kar charbecho u'musaseni. Avi Melech said to the kid, unleash your sword and kill me. Ukishal Amaleki. Shaul asked Amaleki, Hamodna alai umimuseni. Please stand up and kill me. So we have instances of this. This is called mercy killing or euthanasia. Right? Euthanasia means mercy killing. Or in Hebrew, euthanasia is what we call retzach mitoich rachamim. Killing out of mercy. Right? But the word euthanasia is a Greek word, which means mercy killing. The first euthanasia society was established in 1938. The first Euthanasia Society of America was founded by a guy by the name of Charles Francis Parker. However, Bisman Hazeh, the law in most countries is euthanasia is prohibited. So now these societies, they spend most of their time educating people on the benefits of euthanasia. And throughout recent American history, there have been jury trials where a husband will kill a wife. Nebuch, she's suffering terribly. And often the jury will have mercy on the husband because it's understandable. It's a human compassion feels for these type of cases. So what does the Torah have to say about this type of murder? Says the Aksava HaKabbalah al Shnei Eile Diber HaKasav. The Torah speaks of both of these types of murder. Al HaHoyreg L'ras HaNirtzach, someone who's killing for the right to harm the one who's being killed. Hanasa Rak Mipchuse B'nei Adam, which being done out of the low character of man. So Yomar, it says about this, Miyad HaAdam, from the hand of man, because Adam is an expression used when you're talking about the more base element of human character. For instance, we have in this week's Parsha, Vayered Hashem Lirois, Es Ha'ir V'es HaMigdal Asher Banu, B'nei HaAdam. When it comes to Migdal Bavel, it calls mankind B'nei Adam. Right? Kamashikara la'anshe dar aflaga l'pchisusam asher banu b'nei Adam. Kamashikaza Rashi. So the first type of murder, killing to harm, is called miyad ha'adam, because here a human being is acting with his base element. The al hasheni, but regarding what? The second type of killing, hanase l'ratzon hanitzach, which is being performed with the consent of the one being murdered, u'letayvasai, and for his benefit, asher gam ish muhama'ula b'madrega. Even someone on a very high level may perform an act like this. V'gam shehu may olavei ha'nirtzach. He could even be a friend of the nirtzach. In other words, there are two types of murder. There's miyad ha'adam, when someone's coming as a bad person with his base character to kill, and then there's miyad ish. Ish implies a higher level. Why would an ish ever kill? An ish would kill to benefit the one being murdered. Where he's acting as achiv, he's doing out of ava, he's doing out of love. In both of these cases, the Torah says it is prohibited.
The person who thinks, even asks a person that doesn't have the right. Kadosh Baruch Hu doesn't give the right.
Okay, so good. That's what
you're borrowing the neshama. You're borrowing the book from. You're renting it. When you return a rental car, you got to return the car.
Good. Right. That's what the Torah is saying. The Torah is saying both forms of murder are prohibited. Miyad Adam is number one. That's the first type. Miyad Ish Achiv is the second type. These are the two types. Okay, Rabbi. So this is a topic we have not discussed before, although we have touched on the lashon of drisha before. But that's what the Torah is saying. There are two types of murder. There's Miyad Ha'adam and there's Miyad Ish Achiv, where the person's acting not as a lowly Adam, he's acting on a higher level of Ish, and he's acting as Achiv out of love. What's Halacha L'maisa? Halacha L'maisa, there's no question. Right? There are no instances that it's permitted. You can't do this. Halacha L'maisa, we paskin in Yoredeya, Siman Shin Lametes, Ha'goyseis harehu kechai l'chol dvarav. Someone who's a goyseis. What's a goyseis? Someone who's teetering, right? He's near death. He's considered alive. You can't touch his jaw. You can't anoint him with anything. You can't rinse him off. You can't clean him. You can't remove the pillow. He's alive. And if you touch him ever so slightly, you may end up what? Killing him. And that's what the Shach writes. Asar lasois davar hamakarev misasei. You're not allowed to do anything that brings a person's death any closer. Because we do not believe in quality of life. It's a matter of... Thank you.
Actively treat.
Is that why you don't touch, you're not allowed to touch a ghost face?
That's correct.
Hey, you may kill him.
You're not allowed to touch
You can't touch a ghost. That's what it says. Shalom Mates, Halacha, Aleph.
Do you have to
Ghost face
actively
is someone
treat?
who is dying about to die.
So that's another story. We say in Tehillim, David HaMelech says, and turn that off?
To be a ghost face means like you're really near death.
Near death.
So you can't touch them because you're just gonna...
That may be the last straw. Yeah? The Hagoyse, that's why David HaMelech says in Tehillim, Yasar Yisrani Ka. I think the Euthanasia Society is after us over here or something. But Yasar Yisrani Ka v'lamavas lo'inasanani. David HaMelech says the Rebbeinu Shem could give me retribution, the Rebbeinu Shem could give me afflictions, but to be alive, that's the greatest bracha. However, there is something that the Ramah tells us. The Ramah says something very interesting. They used to believe that if there were loud noises, the person couldn't die. They were startled by the noise. That kept them alive. So if, let's say, you have a wood chopper chopping wood, and you have a guy who's a goyses, and he's in misery, you're allowed to tell the wood chopper to stop chopping. Why? Because you're not killing the guy. You're just removing that thing that's preventing him from going. Okay? That's what the Rama says in number 6. If there is something that's preventing someone from dying, somebody's car alarm went off, or somebody's was chopping wood, someone's chopping wood, the guy had salt on his tongue, and somehow the salt on his tongue was stopping him from leaving this world, so and these things are stopping him from leaving this world. You could remove it, because that's not called killing him. You're just removing the deterrent of his nisa.
So if a person is on a machine that's keeping him alive, and you remove the machine, you're not necessarily killing him.
It's an old child.
I know.
So that might be different than this case, because that machine is keeping him alive. In this case, the wood is not keeping him alive, it's just stopping him from dying. That might be different. Okay. So we would like to look into, Rabbi Say.
What about shock treatment?
What?
Shock treatment, what about that?
Shock treatment?
Yeah.
What about it?
You're allowed to use it?
On a whale? On an animal?
On a human?
On a human? Sure, if you need to. Okay. Rabbi Say. Let us look into the following. Let's look into the following issue.
We're not talking about keeping. We're talking about.
Let's look into the following issue. Let's stay here.
Where are we now?
The Ksava HaKabbalah told us. He gave us examples of stories in Tanakh where people asked to be killed, to be put out of their misery. One of the stories that the Ksava HaKabbalah cites is the story of Shaul HaMelech. When Shaul HaMelech was in his final battle. And he saw that the results were inevitable. The pasuk says at the end of Shmuel Aleph, look at number 7. Bayomer Shaul lenoisei kelav. Shaul told his weapon bearer, Shloif charbecha, please unleash, right, your sword. V'dakreni ba, stab me. Ten yavayu ha'arelim ha'ileh. Perhaps these goyim are going to come with the dakreni, v'saluvi. They're going to mock me. Okay. So that Shaul asked someone to kill him. So the question is, was Shaul allowed to ask someone to kill him? Halacha l'maisa, again, euthanasia is prohibited. Right? That's what the Torah is saying. According to Ksava Kabbalah, it's a pasuk in Chumash. It's not just a logic. According to the Ksava Kabbalah, there's miyad ha'adam, that's one type of murder, and miyad ish achiv, even out of ava. But we want to know, did Shaul have any heter to do what he was doing? So we have a medrash.
Shaul's not euthanasia.
Yeah, he is.
No.
Why not?
He could have.
Shaul is youth in Israel.
Maybe he could have escaped.
No.
He wasn't. He wasn't on the gates of death.
He was hit by.
The
police.
He was in the gates of death. No. It was inevitable. It was in battle. The enemy was surrounding him. It was only a matter of a few moments before they would get him. So Shaul HaMelech he didn't want to be mocked. He didn't want to be desecrated, so he wanted to know, maybe could he die in dignity? Okay? So actually the Medrash says, Rabbi Say, even though this pasuk says that murder is asur, and what we call euthanasia is asur, it says ach. What does ach mean? It's a miyut, meaning, but there's an exception to the rule. So the Medrash says, yeah, what's the exception? This pasuk, is talking about suicide. You can't kill yourself. Yochel kashol, I would think like Shaul. Talmud loymar ach. Therefore, the Torah says ach. Ach is a miyut. In Shaul's situation, that's the exception to the rule. It was permitted. That's a simple way of reading the Medrash. The Das Sekanim.
Why was it permitted in Shaul's?
The Das Sekanim on this week's Parsha brings down two ways of reading this Medrash.
What number is Das?
9.
The Das Sekanim in number 9, he brings down.
What Chanan Misha was
That's a different case. We're not going to get into that. That's a case of being Meiser Nefesh. We're not going to talk about that right now. Rabbi say, look in the Das Kanim in number 9 on the 4th line. Talmud Loimar Ach, Ki B'Shas Hashmad, in a time of Shmad. Meaning in a time where if they're going to get a hold of you, they'll take away the religion, or they'll desecrate you, or they'll mock you. Yachal Limsar Atzmai, Lamisa V'Lareg Atzmai. You could deliver yourself over to death. You could kill yourself. B'chein B'Shal Ben Kish. That like we find by Shaul Ben Kish. That's what it means, Ach. Ach means in Shaul's situation, it was different. It was different. It was permitted.
The Christians wanted to get them and convert them, and they killed themselves.
Like we find in the Gemara in Gittin, those boys were taken over in the boat, and they were afraid that they were going to be taken over for lewd practices, so they jumped off the boat. But then the Das Kanim brings down a few lines down. V'yesha Eisrin. There are those who answer, and they say, "Aval eino yachal laharagas atzma." You're not permitted to kill yourself. Yachal kishal shemasa atzma lamisa. I would think that you could do it in Shaul's situation. Talmud Loimar Ach. Ach means eino yachal atzma. You have no right to hurt yourself at all. What about Shaul? Shaul did the wrong thing. So we have a machlokes midrashim, machlokes rishonim. Euthanasia again is prohibited, but even in Shaul's situation, there is a machlokes whether Shaul HaMelech did the right thing or Shaul HaMelech did the wrong thing. Okay. Now we want to know eventually what happened to Shaul. Well, let's see a little bit further on in Sefer Shmuel. The pasuk says David HaMelech meets a kid. Vayomer David al nar hamagidloi. David meets the kid. He said, "Amy Zah, where are you from?" Because this kid had said he met Shaul on the battlefield, and Shaul said, "Please kill me." And the kid said, "I killed Shaul." So he says to David, "You know who I am? I'm Ben Ish Ger Amalek. I'm the son of a man who is a convert from Amalek." David said, how could you have not been afraid to kill the anointed one of God? And what does David do? He kills him.
But he didn't kill him.
But I don't understand. How could David kill him? But Shaul asked the kid to kill him.
But the kid didn't kill him.
Yeah, he did.
No, what's the rest?
He fell on it, but if you look a little further, after he fell on it, he wasn't dead. The Amaleki killed him. This kid,
Is he the no say Caleb this Amalek?
Yeah.
He finished.
Why would Shaul have an Amaleki?
He's a ger. He's a ger. He's a ger. He's a ger. B'nai Banav Shalhamin Loimdim Torah B'nai Brak. Right? They're the best warriors. Rabbi said, let's finish up over here. So the question is, how is David HaMelech allowed to kill him? Listen to this. How is David allowed to kill him? But this guy was only listening to Shaul. Shaul asked him to kill him. So if the king says, kill me, don't you listen?
Yeah.
So the Ralbag asks this question. Yesh L'Tamaya, number 11. Madua Tziva David Lahargai. Why did David command to kill him? V'hinei asa zebert sign Shaul. Ubakashasei. They were only acceding to the request of Shaul. You know what the answer is? Because the same way if someone says, "Oh, my dear friend Rebberal, could you punch me in the face?" Are you allowed to listen to him? No. So too, if somebody says, "Please kill me," you're not allowed to listen to them. But it's the king? Doesn't matter, it's the king. You can't listen to them. Divrei harav, the divrei hatalmud, divrei mishamin. A person, doesn't matter who it is, it could be the Gadol Hadar, it could be the Melech Yisrael, if they ask you to kill them, you're not allowed to listen. And here we come to a most fascinating comment on the pasuk that we started off with. V'ach es dimchem lenafshei seichem ed roish, miad kolchaya ed rishenu, umiad ha'adam miad ish achiv ed roish es nefesh ha'adam. And this is from the Sefer L'Torah L'Mayadim from Reb Zevin. And Reb Zevin points out, this is very interesting. Haloshain drisha b'muvan shel tvia loy matzanu b'shum makom al avero sheben adam la'makom. This language of drisha, what does drisha mean? A claim on something that you have that doesn't belong to you and belongs to me, and I want it back. Right, what does drisha mean? Drisha means you have something that belongs to me, give it back. We do not find this expression by any avera, ben adam, mamakan. You have it by ben adam achaveroi. Matzino rak halashon pekida. God will visit, right? Poiked avoin avos albanim. Ba'efkoid avoin abba. Ba'tifkoid alai avoin ha'ishor. I'll add, it says, Rak eschem yodati in amos mikol mishvachos la'adama al kein efkod aleichem es avonosechem. So when it comes to ben adam la'makom, God says, I'll visit punishment on you. But in this pasuk, it's not talking about ben adam la'makom. It's talking about between you and you, it's not talking about between you and your friend. It's talking about between you and God. Biach es dimchem lenafshoisechem edroish. God is saying, I'm going to get it back. What do you mean he's going to get it back? It should say, I'll punish you. B'musag drisha, whenever we use the expression drisha, nishtamshim b'mikra al tvias davar shalachim. You want to close the door? We only find the expression drisha when we're talking about getting something back from someone else. In mamain, ay nefesh, kamay, right? If you find a lost object, you should hold on to it until when? Until your brother seeks it out. What does that mean? Till he seeks back what belongs to him in your possession. Or bidarashti es soni miyadim. I will seek out my sheep from your hand. Bigam damai hine nidrash. But why does it say by ma'abed es atzmai ladas, someone who commits suicide, biaches dimchem lenafshei sechem edrosh? Why edrosh? You know what we see from here? That when a person takes his life, this is not just an avera between, Hashem says, I don't want you to take your life. God says, edrosh, I have something that you took away from me, I want it back. What is that thing? Your life. In other words, the Torah is saying that a person's life does not belong to them. It belongs to God. And if a person misappropriates his life, God says, Ed Rosh, you have something in your possession that belongs to me.
Didn't we say that he's allowed to because he's going to get mocked?
There are limited circumstances where it's permitted. But in general, the person's life is not something that a person has rights over, say over. What does it show? That a person, look at the next paragraph, the fact that the Torah utilizes this expression, God is saying, you have something in your possession that belongs to me. And that's why the Rambam writes, like this. Rambam says that if a murderer comes to the Bezdin and says, come on, let me off the hook. I'll give you $100 million on, and I'll put up 10 yeshivas. Right? It says, Loisikhu kaifer. Even if he gives all of the money in the world. Why? Says the Rambam, She'ein nafshoi shozeh hanera kinyan goyel hadam. What if the goyel hadam says, you know what? I'm not going to kill him. I'm not going to kill the murderer. I'll have rachmanis on him. Could the goyel hadam say that?
No.
No, he has no right to do that. You know why? Because
it's not his.
It's not my life. It's not up to me. You took away something that belonged to God, and God wants it back. Now, very interesting. Very interesting. What's the halacha? Person comes into Bezdin and he says, I lived with my sister. I'm a murderer. I committed adultery. I served Avodah Zarah. Do we kill him?
No.
Why not?
No, it's not.
There are no edim. But 1 second. What if a person comes and says, what if Zela comes into the call and says, Rabbi, I owe you $1 million. So what's the halacha? I'll collect it. Why? Could a person testify about himself or not?
Because the money is his, but
says the Radvaz. The Radvaz says. And the Radvaz comments on the Rambam. That what if a person comes in and says, I wore shatnez. Could he be mechayiv himself malchus?
No.
No. Why not? Says the Radbaz, Al she'ein hargim ein malkim adam piyadas atzmai lefi she'ein nafshoy shel adam kinyanai. A person's life is not his. Ela kinyan hakadosh baruch hu. And that is why, very interesting, the Radbaz says like this: a person cannot be mechayiv himself misa. A person cannot be mechayiv himself money. Malchus. But money, the money belongs to you. It's my money, my credit card. I can do whatever I want. If I want to say that I owe you $1 million, that's my prerogative. My money belongs to me. I can do whatever I want with my money. If I want to give it up, I'm entitled to. But my life is not mine. It's not my life.
How can every Bezdin decide they're going to kill somebody because it's not
because Hashem told them to. So that's in the Torah. But the lesson of Edrosh, this expression, V'aches dimchem l'nafshesechem Edrosh, Hashem says, I don't look at when I give life to man as I'm giving you something, and it's an empty check. Do whatever you want with it. Like, Citibank, they used to have an advertisement on their check boxes. Life, the ultimate blank check. Remember that? It's a great expression, right? Well, what's greater than a blank check? You can do whatever you want. A person can make his life worth $10, $100, $1 billion, right? You can make whatever you want out of it. The only thing is, it's not a blank check. It's not a blank check. You know why? Because you can't do whatever you want with it. It doesn't belong to you. You're a custodian. You're a guardian. You're an apotropos. You're a shomer. But it's not yours. Your money is yours. Do whatever you want. You want to buy, you want to invest in this thing, in that thing, that's up to you. There's certain guidelines. But life, a person has no say. Haidas baldin is kamei edim only by money, but not by life. Okay, back to Shaul HaMelech for a minute.
So the guy wasn't allowed to do it. Right?
So if we just said that a person cannot testify about themselves, so then how could David HaMelech kill this kid who claims he killed Shaul? But how did David see him kill Shaul? No. How does David know he killed Shaul? Because he said so. But I thought we don't accept the testimony of someone about capital offense because their life does not belong to them. Yeah? So, like this. Rabbeinu Yeshaya tells us, Rabbeinu Yeshaya in Sefer Shmuel, look at number 13, turn over, that this Ger Amaleki, you know who he was? Look what he writes. Yeshayimrim hu doyeg hu hadoimi. This was good old Doeg. Now, Doeg already had a long track record, right? He already had a bad criminal record. He was responsible for the death of Noach HaKohanim. So David didn't kill him because he admitted that he killed Shaul. You can't kill someone if they admit they killed Shaul. Why? It's Haidas Baldin Kamei Edim Dami. But rather, this is Doeg. Doeg's already Chayiv Misa. Now, Rashi brings down this pshat. Rashi doesn't like it. No, I don't accept.
Even if he's Chayiv Misa, what gave David the right to execute?
No, David, as a king, David has the right to kill.
Was he established as king yet?
Yes, of course.
No. Shaul just died.
No.
First of all, David was already anointed. He was only waiting for Shaul to die. But when Shaul died, so now everything is in place. But Rabbi said, very interesting. Very interesting.
Shaul wasn't the king anymore.
The Rambam, yeah. Well, if you're dead, you can, right? If you're dead, you can't be the king. Okay, the Rambam in Hilchos Sanhedrin, look in the Rambam, look at number 15. The Rambam says something very interesting. The Rambam says, Gzeres HaKosav hi she'ein mamisim bezdin. There's a Gzeres HaKosav, that bezdin doesn't kill. V'loi malkin es adam, bezdin doesn't give malchus. B'hoidas piv, by a person's admission, el al pi shnei edim, you need testimony. If you need testimony, how could Yoshua kill Achan? How could David kill the Ger Amaleki? The David the Ger Amaleki by Das PM. The answer is Hayra Shahaisa. It was a one-time leniency. It was a Hayra Shah. The times called for it. So even though halachically, technically speaking, he wasn't allowed to do it, it was a Hayra Shah. Or Aydin Malchus as king, in capacity of as commander-in-chief, he was authorized to kill without testimony.
That's crazy.
The Malbim wants to say a tremendous chiddush. Ready for this? The Malbim wants to say that if you say this guy was really an Amaleki, the Malbim says, listen to this. Even though you can't kill a Jew based on a Jew's own testimony, when it comes to a guy, you could.
He was a ger. He said it was a ger.
Ger may just mean ger. He lived. Ger can mean he lived. There are two pshatim. Either ger Amaleki means he was an actual convert, or ger Amaleki, he was a sojourner in the land of the Amalekim. So if you say like that, the Malbim wants to say, look at number 17. Im nemar shay Amaleki mamish. If you want to say he was mamish and Amaleki, sheben Noach nerag b'lei hasar. We learned, if you remember, a guy. Do you need to warn a guy to kill him? No. If a guy kills someone who's going to die in a minute anyway, do we kill him? No. Yeah. A guy who kills a treifa is chayiv misa. V'nerag b'dayin echad. To kill a guy, you only need one judge. Uveid echad, you only need one witness. So you could say that since this ger Amaleki was a guy, the din of hoidas bal din kamei edem dami, which we said doesn't apply by misa, that doesn't apply by goyim. By goyim, we say that they could be murdered, they committed an offense, and we will kill them. Now the Malbim is a little reluctant to say this chiddush. He says v'tzarich iyin b'zeh ladina. Now Rabbi said this is not like the Rambam. The Rambam was bothered by a question. The Rambam wants to know, how could David kill the ger Amaleki? So the Rambam didn't want to say, well, this ger Amaleki, he was a guy, and we say Hadas Baldin, or maybe because the Rambam held he was a Jew. But nevertheless, this is a very big chiddush that the Malbim is advancing. But nevertheless, if you look in the Sefer HaChinuch, Sefer HaChinuch says, Umin hachilukim shbein Yisrael l'shar ha'umais. Among the distinctions between Klal Yisrael and the other nations of the world, number one, a Jew cannot be chayiv without edim. A Jew needs warning, but other nations, other goyim, they don't need warning. There's no difference whether they act b'shogeg or b'mezid. And look what he says: "T'chein yischayvu gam kein b'odas pihem." Sefer Chinuch says outright, a guy who admits to a capital offense, we will accept that testimony. But Rabbi say, in any event, we learned two very important things from this pasuk: the fact that the Torah repeats miyad ha'adam and miyad yishachiv. The Torah is saying there is two types of murder. One is miyad adam, murder out of sinna. And then there's miyad ish achiv, there's murder out of ahava. Murder out of ahava is also asr. But then the Torah is teaching us a very important thing by employing this lashon of edrosh. Edrosh is usually only employed if I want back something that I have. And the Rebbeinu Shalom says, yes, in this situation when it comes to human life, the word edrosh is absolutely appropriate. Because when it comes to someone's life, this is not something that belongs to you, and I just don't like what you're doing with it. It doesn't belong to you. God says, I will seek out that which you have in your possession that does not belong to you. That is the lashon of edrosh.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.